Hi, this is Dr. Karen, and I'm from Empowering People with Invisible Chronic Illness Foundation, otherwise known as the EPIC Foundation. I'm the founder and the executive director, and I'm really happy to be here today on our segment called Diving Deep. And it's with our lead youth advocate, AnnMarie. And I'm so happy to have you here, AnnMarie. Thank you for joining us again. And I can't wait to dig into some great conversation. Thank you again for being here.
Thank you.
So, okay, so this is really good because I think it's great for our audience to hear about, real life people who are with the organization, who support the mission, but who are also a part of this mission. And that's one of the things that makes the Epic Foundation unique is that we are chronic illness warriors helping other chronic illness warriors have a voice. And what I love about you is that, and you've been with us for several months now, is that you are someone, you're a youth who is also a youth advocate, and you really speak out for those youth out there who don't feel like they have a voice, but you've been through a tremendous journey that some of our audience has never heard before. So I just want to sort of maybe do a quick recap and then update of you and your story and why you are with the Epic Foundation.
Yes. So from the time I was 9 to now, I have been diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos, endometriosis, anxiety, depression, protein S deficiency, and dysautonomia and Ehlers-Danlos. I don't know if I said that already. And a ton of other things that I can't really say because the words mean nothing to me. But since then, I've had a pulmonary embolism in both of my lungs right after my 17th or 16th birthday. And I've had spinal surgery to get screws and rods in my back, and have been told that I need a second surgery to get 3 of the screws removed because 3 of those screws are touching my spinal sac.
Well, you just said a mouthful.
Yes.
And remind us all of how old you are.
I am 18 and I will be 19 in August.
Wow. So you're 18 years old and you've been through all of that, much of which most of our audience probably, you said that there's a bunch of letters that you could say and it wouldn't mean much to our audience, but even the things that you have said, much of us have never heard of. I have. All of those illnesses are on our chronic illness list in terms of illnesses that we've heard of, but much of our audience has never even heard of some of those illnesses that are, some of them are considered rare, and yet at 18, not even before your 19th birthday, you've experienced all of that, including multiple surgeries.
Yeah. It's a lot.
It is a lot. Do you feel that when you talk about this now, does it feel like you're telling a story, like someone else's story, or does it feel real to you now?
It never really feels real, like it's happening to me. But those days when I am not feeling all that great, it really hits me like, oh my gosh, what is wrong with me? And then I'll end up in the hospital and they're like, well, this is your dysautonomia or your Ehlers-Danlos doing this to you. And so it's not the best thing to have going for me, because as a dancer I try to push myself to keep going, and the one thing that I have to do is take breaks, lay down on the floor. I bring like 3 bottles of water and keep them in my locker because it can be exhausting, especially with fatigue and brain fog will even kick in. Especially yesterday when I was at dance, people would be talking to me. I'm like, wait, what? What are you saying to me? I'm sorry, I couldn't comprehend what you just said, and it could have been like, hey, AnnMarie, how are you doing? And it just went through one ear and out the other. Didn't even understand a word.
Yeah. Yeah, that is something that a lot of people probably cannot relate to. The biggest issue that I see is that you belong to the but you don't look sick.com club, right?
Yeah.
Spoonies out there. For those who don't know what a spoonie is, it's those of us who are familiar with this theory called the spoon theory. Check it out if you haven't checked it out. Look up the spoon theory. It's on a website called butyoudon'tlook.sick.com. The spoon theory. And basically, spoons are used as a metaphor for the amount of energy that it takes for us to use every day. So if you start out with 12 spoons a day, everything costs spoons, from taking a shower to, wouldn't you know it, even watching TV costs spoons, which most people don't know that even if they're sitting still, their minds using up energy takes up spoons. So, but the most prominent sort of significant thing about this whole thing, which is why it's on the website, butyoudon'tlook.sick.com, is that many of us live with invisible chronic illness. So someone will look at you, AnnMarie, and say, but you don't look sick. And I think because we hear that so much, and it's supposed to be meant as a compliment, right? Like people are like, oh, you're so beautiful, you're glowing, you don't look sick. But sometimes the implication might be, well, you can't be that sick as you're telling us you are, right?
Yeah.
So, that is a very interesting thing to deal with. And then we start to internalize it, because like you said, you're a dancer, and I'd love for you to also speak to the many other things that you do, including volunteering for the Epic Foundation, which I don't know what we did before you, or what we would do without you. But you have so much on your plate, and you live a seemingly normal life, and then boom, things happen that remind you yourself, that, yeah, I mean, you live an extraordinary life. You live a life that's not like some of your peers.
Yeah.
How does that feel?
It's difficult. I'll be honest. It's difficult, especially, um, recently it's been one thing I've been talking with one of my doctors that I see on a regular basis now, that it's hard for me to go like to dance and want to do everything that the other girls are doing because I can't. I can't really bend down. I can't lift my arms above my head. It's hard for me to. Like today, I was losing feeling in my shoulder, and I had to get my mom to come help me take my bedding off because I couldn't lift anything because I couldn't feel my arm.
Yeah.
Um, or like my first year of college, I won't be going on campus, which is a good thing for me because I'll be able to stay home for 1 year. But like I just asked my counselor, do you have handicap rooms? Because I can't get out the bathtub by myself, which is the worst thing. And we can't put handicap rails in our bathtub because it's plastic. It's not, one of those nice bathtubs some people have. So it's it's taken a toll, a really big toll, especially I've noticed since after having spinal surgery, I notice everything more because I can feel everything because, most of my body isn't, there's no feeling in it, but when there is feeling, it's because I'm in pain. And it's the worst thing to have is the pain, especially when, I don't know if it was an Ehlers-Danlos thing, but I think I heard somewhere in the mix of learning about it that some medication won't help us because of something to do with the genetics of it. So there really is no medication that I can take to get out of pain. And we can't even have certain anesthetics, which is the weirdest thing to me. We have to have a special anesthetic when we have surgery.
Yeah. That is a lot to keep up with at your age. I mean, I imagine that you grew up a lot quicker than some of your peers, having to be so self-aware and so introspective and just really connected to your body as a survival mechanism.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you've had to grow up faster than some of your peers because of it?
In a way, I feel like I've had to grow up, learning about deductibles and anything to do with insurance. Like yesterday, I applied for disability and I just got denied. But, these are all the things that I'm having to learn about, insurance, things that Social Security can do for us, Um, it's those kind of things. I don't feel like I've grown up on the aspect of not having help. I
Right.
feel like I have to have help all the time, which makes me feel like I'm still a little kid, and it bugs me a little bit. That's always in the back of my head. Like, how am I gonna have kids? How am I gonna have a family if I can't not have help? And so that's been the biggest thing going for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I imagine it feels like a paradox sometimes, because on the one hand, there's so much that you have to know and learn that kids normally, I mean, you're no longer a kid, you're technically an adult. I have to remember that about my 18-year-old as well. Um, but as a child growing up, like having to be, a part of that process. And then on the other hand, this sort of existential question of like, how can I be a real adult if I always need help? And I want to speak to both of those things. I know your mom, Mindy. Shout out. And I want to shout out to Mindy is also a chronic illness warrior, and we love her dearly. I want to shout out to all of the people we call warrior mamas out there, who fight for their kids and advocate for their children. And we have a few warrior mamas with the Epic Foundation, actually, who have joined the Epic team, who really believe in fighting for our youth as well. So, I want to capture that when we talk about, getting help along the way that you've needed. So that's, I thank every caregiver out there and every warrior mama and warrior papas out there, warrior daddies. But I just also want to speak to the second part that you said, which is, as an adult, and I'm not ashamed to say my age, I'm going to be 43 years old in May. Woo, woo, very soon, May 15th, I'll be 43. And I started battling much of my journey in my late 20s, and then became completely non-functional and completely bedridden for a while, right after having my 10-year-old daughter, who was about to be 11 years old. So at the time, I was about in my early 30s, about 32, and found myself in bed, unable to move, walk, had to be carried to the bathroom. It's a very humbling experience. But and this is going to sound corny, I think what I have come to realize is that what makes you an adult is, who you are and the core of you. And one of the most mature things that we can do is ask for help. As corny as that sounds, because even with my children, it took a village to raise my kids at one point. my mother, God rest her soul, she's no longer with us, but she was like practically living with us at one point. My parents-in-law, my mother-in-law was amazing. They were alternating times coming every day so that my children, could even get to school every day. And, I cared for them from the bed. Like we watched movies from the bed. We we did homework from the bed, and Madison was a baby and Courtney was in like fourth grade. And I'm rambling, AnnMarie, which is you're used to me. I do that a lot.
I do it too.
But my point is that I see such a bright future for you, and just saying out loud and reminding you that yes, you will need help, but your strength, part of your strength will come from knowing who you can trust, and getting the help that you need when you need it.
Yeah. And I think that's one big thing, is knowing who you can go to.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know in the past year now, I've had to learn, who I can keep in my life, because some people you'll tell everything to, and then they turn their backs on you, which is
Yeah.
the worst thing to happen.
Yeah. It must be incredibly painful to be that vulnerable with someone and then for them to walk away from you.
It is, but in the end, it makes us stronger.
It
So
does.
I've I think I've grown since all that happened to me personally. So it's it's been a ride.
Yeah. Yeah, I imagine so. Your level of maturity sometimes leaves me like absolutely speechless. It's hard to know what to say because I don't know very many young folks your age with that level of maturity. But yet you've been through so much, so it doesn't really surprise me. But tell me more about how you handle figuring out what relationships you can trust to be a part of your closer circle, and how you mourn the loss of the relationships that you thought you could depend on and that you ultimately have to let go of.
Yeah. So it didn't really hit me until I was, close to 18 and everything. But it was the attitudes of people and how they looked at you and how they talked to you and just treated you in general, is how I noticed that, they can't stay around me much longer,
Mm-hmm.
especially with someone that, has mental illnesses. And with chronic illnesses, mental illness plays a really big part in that,
Mm-hmm.
and it will affect your illness. So I just had to let go, and I mourned for a while, not having them in my life. But I think that was the one great thing about me starting pageantry in the middle of it all, because all of these girls fight their own battles,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't know it until you really meet them. And you know, pageantry is about having a platform, and the one thing I notice is these girls don't just have a platform that, like St. Jude. If I would have done St. Jude, I could relate to it. And, you know, I'm not with St. Jude anymore, so I can't really relate to it too much anymore. But if I were to pick something that I couldn't relate to, it really wouldn't have any meaning to me and
Mm-hmm.
the purpose of me raising awareness for my platform, which is why I think I love the Epic Foundation so much, because it I relate to it on a high, a high standard, or I don't know how to the words, but I think that I've made more friends between November and now than I would have if I would have never been in the pageant system.
Mhm.
And I think it's a great thing. And the one way I know I can trust them is because of those things.
Mm.
You know, it does bother me that I've had to, kick people out of my life. And it's because, maybe they don't believe these problems or, there's things that they say and, it hurts me and I don't want to hurt them back. So,
Yeah,
there's just there comes a point in time where you have to put them out of your life. And it's not gonna be a joyride until you've stopped mourning and you've come to the realization that what you've done is helping you.
yeah. That is key. That you've learned to embrace things that help you, to help you. We believe in mind, body, and soul wellness. And so you're not just talking about the physical self, you're talking about the spiritual self, you're talking about the mind. And what we focus on at the Epic Foundation is understanding the psychological journey of the chronic illness warrior, something we don't talk enough about. So I'm so grateful to you for also speaking to depression and anxiety and the psychological things that and the mental health things that impact us as well, and you're embracing those things and advocating for and empowering yourself and others through pageantry, where people have a platform and you've been able to have your platform to increase awareness and to advocate, which is amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah. The one thing I've realized in the time I've started the pageant system, when you're on that stage and you're talking about, your platform, you don't know who's going to be out in that audience.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know I had Miss USA's in that audience. I didn't know that there were people, music artists. I didn't know there was actors out there. There's people that you would have never thought would be in that audience that were there. And that's a big thing that I realized with pageantry is you just don't have a platform. You have a platform, because you are raising awareness. What you're
Mm-hmm.
about to say on that stage, it's gonna go somewhere. It may not go far that one year, but it's gonna eventually go somewhere. And it's the best thing that I've realized, because for all I know, it'll get to the president. It'll get to someone in another country. It'll get, to our senators, our governors, and these are things that we do need to happen because they're always so busy. Those people are so busy. Some people don't have time to, look on their social media, see what people are talking about, what's going on in our community, and
Yeah.
I think it's a really good thing.
Wow. I mean, I don't know if you can see this. I'm like moved to tears. I mean, I am. That's just so powerful because what people don't realize, what you just said. It's not just about a bunch of people walking around in gowns. Like, I'm sorry. It's important to you that you reach those people out there who can make a difference. And so many of us are just trying to survive, which you are as well. But for you to take the adversity in your life and turn it around in this way and to give back, it's just so powerful.
I mean, honestly, I I wouldn't want to trade my life for any other. it's, you know, I may not like what I'm going through at a moment in time, but, you know, we look back on these things. Because one thing I didn't know was someone that would be judging me in my interviews was from a college.
Mm,
And these are just things that you don't think of.
yeah.
Like who are you going to meet in the grocery store tomorrow and have a conversation with? You know, I mean, we have the Louisiana, the LSU gymnastics coach. She lives somewhere near my house. We see her at the grocery store all the time.
Mhm.
So these are the things people don't really realize. Like you you don't know who you're going to meet when you walk into the next building, because whoever you might walk in and run into might just be, you know, the next chapter of your life.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing to think of things that way, isn't it?
I know.
How we're so connected. It's like so wild. And we don't ever know how we're connected. I mean, I'm sure you've met people and you've heard their stories. Maybe they're not chronically ill themselves, but they have a chronically ill child, or a loved one, or they're a caregiver, someone that they know, and it's incredible. That's why I believe in the power of the story. A person's story, you never know what a person's story is. I could never look at you and tell you just what you've explained to us in less than 30 minutes, and that's not even the half of it, right?
I mean, the one thing I've learned in the past month, there's someone at my dance studio whose sister has the same issues as me. And I know you've known that I haven't been able to find a doctor for my second opinion. She
Mm-hmm.
just referred me to a doctor in Dallas, Texas, which that's far away. I mean, that's I think a 6-hour drive for me, but she said it's the best doctor that they've ever had. You know,
Wow.
I I do have a blood clotting disorder, but you know, I do have chest pain, and she said it's arthritis. That's what my doctor told me. It's just arthritis, and you know, that would make sense to me because you know I have fibromyalgia, and I think that I don't remember. It's been so long. What I was told, it was a form of arthritis.
Mm-hmm.
So someone can correct me if I'm wrong. But you know, these are just things you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if the person that's sitting next to you doesn't have, not sitting in a wheelchair, no crutches, no nothing on them. You don't know if they have a problem like you
Yeah.
do. You don't even know if they have a problem at all. You know,
Yeah.
people have strokes and heart attacks all the time, seizures, and they look completely normal, completely fine. They may not even have a service dog, and they might need one, but they look normal. And
Yeah.
people say things about stuff like this, and I know that those people have to be hurting like we do too.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's so true. They must be hurting like we do. It's interesting that you say that you speak to invisible chronic illness in that way. The illness that I am a survivor of, which is Cushing's disease,
Yeah.
we will be increasing awareness of Cushing's in the month of April. And some people are like, that's not invisible chronic illness because it comes with some like overt physical symptoms. But what makes it invisible is that someone can't tell from your symptoms what you have. So with Cushing's disease, because of excess cortisol in the body, it causes unexplained rapid weight gain. And during my journey, I gained 150 pounds in less than 2 years. And I found that weight, if anybody can relate in this audience, that weight is something that people feel very entitled to freely comment about.
I know that.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, like people are very like careful with other issues, but weight, is something that, I mean, I've been walked up to in random grocery stores, and people haven't seen in you. Oh my God, you're so much fatter than you were. I mean, just really blatant stuff. And yet nobody knew that I was silently battling this illness, that where I was producing 60 times the amount of cortisol that I needed to live, and it was wreaking absolute havoc on my body and causing me to die, literally die. Now I've gone from one end of the spectrum to the other. So I have Addison's, but even with Addison's or adrenal insufficiency being steroid dependent on medical steroids, it still causes issues with weight. And that is a seemingly obvious physical symptom. But again, nobody can look at you and tell this is why you're struggling with your weight. And I just choose weight because that's like something that lots of us can relate to about, how people feel free to comment.
Yeah, this week, in fact, I went to my psychiatrist because I have a psychiatrist and then I have a counselor.
Mm-hmm.
You would think the counselor would be the psychiatrist, but apparently those are two different things.
No, they are. They are two different things. Yes.
They're two different things. So
yes.
My psychiatrist actually was looking back at, I don't know what it's called, but your height, your body mass, and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And then she said, you've gained 25 pounds since October, and I actually gained 3 pounds in one day of seeing one doctor. And she questioned it, and I said, well, I've started, binge eating, and I was honest with her. And she looked back at my medication, and she realized 2 of my medications caused me, to eat more than I normally should have. Mm-hmm. But, she also made the mistake of telling me that one of the medications she gave me would make me not want to eat. So it had been confusing me. So, having had been 125 pounds, and now I'll be honest, I'm 155 pounds and probably 160 today. But only God knows how much I've gained in the past day since I've seen her. Mm-hmm. It bothers me because, I'll have people tell me, you need to stop eating. That's just going to go to your hips. But I can't control it. The only way I've been controlling it recently is just by eating sunflower seeds. My counselor said, do whatever you can because, it's hard. It's a struggle. You don't want to eat. You don't want to keep eating. No one wants, for their body to do these things.
Yeah.
So it just happens. And it's the worst.
Yeah. It's the least on your mind and the worst and the most on your mind all at the same time, right? Because you're thinking about, oh, I don't want to be this way, but at the same time, there's so many other things on your plate.
Yeah, I mean, during the summer, as soon as we got my dog, I was walking the neighborhood, maybe once a week or so. And once I started realizing, oh my gosh, this is what's happening to me, I really wanted to get up and, maybe run the neighborhood or something. But because of my Ehlers-Danlos and dysautonomia and scoliosis at that, I can't get out the bed. I'm staying up until 1 a.m. and I'm sleeping till almost 4 o'clock in the afternoon sometimes now. Excuse me. And, it's been a real struggle because you want to have a good body image for, people who see that we need to be a certain way, but at the same time, because we have chronic illnesses, we don't have the energy to. We don't have the energy to go to the gym. We don't have the energy to, run or walk our neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And it's a struggle because, especially since I stopped physical therapy, my dance teachers noticed that my balance has been out of whack. I've been having more problems with my joints. And I know it's because I'm not getting up, I'm not moving like I used to. And I know that I need to go back to physical therapy, but I can't because I don't have a doctor. Mm-hmm. I have to find just the one doctor to let me go to physical therapy, which I think is retarded, but insurance. Because I can't pay $35 to see someone to help me with this more than once a week.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a definitely a vicious cycle for sure.
Yeah.
A lot, like we talked about at the beginning of this conversation, a lot to deal with at such a young age. Such a young age. Um, just want to read a couple of the comments as we wrap up because, I am mindful of your spoons and the spoons that it took to even do this diving deep this week. So thank you for that. A Facebook user, sometimes I can't see you. I can't see who you are. It'll just say Facebook user if you're not specifically signed up with StreamYard. So please excuse me. I'll be able to see who you are once I go into Facebook. But someone said, great convo, wishing you the best of luck with managing your illnesses on top of college. So,
thank you.
Yes. And Mary, who is a longtime friend of mine and a friend to the Epic Foundation, says, welcome back, AnnMarie. She's always watching, sending encouraging words to you specifically, AnnMarie. So thank you for your comments, and thank you for those of you who took the time to watch this diving deep. I think the next time we talk in a couple of weeks, AnnMarie, I want to get more into your plans to go to college and some of what you anticipate in terms of getting help and the things that you need. Oh, someone else just popped up and said, AnnMarie, stay focused and never give up. That's right. You're never giving up, right?
Oh, no. Something would have to traumatically happen for me to give up.
That's right.
I'm going one more year of dance. Unless something happens and I get a job somewhere to, do dance. But
yes, I've gotten to know you very well over the last several months, and that's one thing I know about you is that you do not give up. And I am truly inspired by it every single day. And let me tell you guys, this girl works so hard for our foundation. I feel so grateful and so honored that you work so hard for us with advocating and responding to people who reach out to us. You're actively involved in our social media, so a lot of the content that you see on our social media comes from AnnMarie. It's much of it. It's really, really amazing how much you impact us in terms of our being able to increase awareness and reach out to people. So thank you so much.
I just read someone's comment about
yeah.
the doctor. I know. I'll eventually find one, even if they're not in the city, because we don't have great doctors here near me.
Yeah, that's a tough one. And finding a doctor in your specialization is tough. And that 6-hour drive to Texas, it will all be worth it. I got to tell you, my primary endocrinologist is in Seattle, Washington, and I live in the northwest suburbs of Chicago, Illinois. And so pre-pandemic, we were traveling to Seattle since 2011 every single year. I had brain surgery in Seattle, Washington, almost 3,000 miles away. So, I mean, that's one thing I know about chronic illness warriors is that we do what we have to do, right?
Yeah, I mean, Tulane University here in New Orleans, they just opened up an Ehlers-Danlos clinic.
Oh, wow.
So if I really wanted to, I could go there because they just opened it up, which is unique.
Yeah, very.
You don't hear that. I'm actually really disappointed in this, but I actually had a doctor recently who, knew about chronic illnesses. He actually worked for the Mayo Clinic. And then I had seen him 2-3 times. And then a week after seeing him the last time, I get a letter in the mail saying that, he was leaving the practice effective immediately. And this letter when I got it was dated March 1st, and I got it like March, what's today? 26th. It was like the 12th.
Wow.
Yeah, and so it had been a few days since that had happened, and he had
Yeah.
told me to come back and see him, and I'm like, this is the only doctor I could trust, the
Yeah.
only doctor that believed in what, that's the one thing that happens to people with chronic illnesses. Some doctors don't believe what we're saying to them.
Yeah.
This doctor did, he had me go down for an ultrasound on my legs to make sure I wasn't having a clot in both of my legs. And he was the first doctor that did that, because when I go into the emergency rooms, they don't even do that. That's only
Hmm.
happened to me once, and that's when I had my blood clot. So, it's about researching, just
Yeah.
researchers.
Yeah. And they're out there. They're out there. They're definitely out there, and shout out to the doctors who do believe in us. We're trying to bridge the gap between the medical professional community and the patient community and really build trust, because so many of us have been hurt in so many ways, right? By doctors who we wanted to help us. But yeah, never give up the fight. Like you were saying, you would think that you could find someone in your city, but like I said, I'm in Chicago, and couldn't necessarily find someone who could help me with my particular rare illness at the time. So you keep fighting and you keep looking.
Yeah, and I don't really want to say this, but here in Louisiana, I think it's the problem of Hurricane Katrina. After Katrina came, things just haven't been the same. I mean, New
Mm,
Orleans still hasn't rebuilt. I mean, Baton Rouge hasn't even rebuilt since our 2016 flood. I mean, people are just finally getting into their homes. It's
mhm.
2021. That happened in 2016, which is the craziest thing to think about. It takes years to just rebuild a community after a natural disaster. And then,
Yeah.
live right here off the coast. We can have another hurricane like that in a heartbeat, and it'll
Mm,
just be a process of starting all over again. And it hurts. It hurts to even think about that, and a lot of people here just decide to go and move somewhere else. And when,
mhm.
I don't know if you remember the Houston floods, people
Yeah.
that lived in New Orleans moved to Houston. And
Mm,
so that was the worst thing to see on the internet, was these families that had nowhere else to go because Houston was their home, their second home, because
yeah.
most people here in Louisiana, they either live in Texas, have family that lives in Texas, Arkansas, Mississippi. You're pushing it on Alabama.
Yeah.
But, we try to just stay close by, but, you know, luckily I have family up north in Mississippi if anything ever happened,
Mhm.
and in northern Texas, but, it's it's hard to think about these kind of things.
Yeah. I mean, you've been through a lot, and that's a conversation we haven't even touched upon, which we will in the future. How do you deal with chronic illness even in the midst of other adversities?
Yeah, because, I still have all my medical records on me because I haven't found a doctor yet. But, I do think it's a good thing to have all your medical records on you, because what if you have to get up and go? You're gonna have to find a new doctor somewhere else, and you're gonna need all that stuff, and you're not gonna have the time to come back and get that all. And then you have, even if they can get those things for you, how are you gonna sign all those forms that have to be? Sometimes you have to have a witness, to see that you've signed it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That is such a great point. Such a great point. We're blessed in that a couple of our affiliates are moving into like electronic record keeping, that patients can keep themselves. And one of our affiliates, United, I'm sorry, Unified Hints, they have like a record keeping concierge service that, where people help you actually store your medical records under one file, to where it literally, like, you and your caregiver and your or people who you have in your caregiving circle, it can go with you anywhere. And that's so different than, like, I have binders, like 12 binders of medical records, and man, it's so amazing to think about, like, having something that you can carry with you. So yeah, by the way, that particular affiliate, if you look at our social media stuff, look back at our social media stuff, they offer to our members 12 months of free service, which I think is so amazing. I think the code was Epic Together or something. But you guys look back at our social media stuff. In fact, I will repost it today if you look at our Epic Together stuff, so that you can take advantage of that, because it's so important. Medical record keeping, another topic we'll talk about in the future, is so important, right?
Don't even talk to me about medical records. We already know what I have.
Well, look out for that, because we'll repost that. We'll repost that on all of our Epic Together platforms, so that you guys can take advantage of it, because it's like you just said, it's so important. It's so important. Wangji is another one of our affiliates, where you can, but they're based out of Australia. But so those are two resources that we have. And with Wangji, you can again maintain medical records through your phone. You can carry it. You can send the same records to multiple doctors. And so that is so very important. So learning how to protect our medical records, like, our medical records are like blood, like, we need them to survive, right? Like,
yes, I mean, the amount of times I have heard a doctor, let me go back and look about what happened in 2015.
yeah.
2015? I mean, I've even had, when my doctor was looking at, doing my spinal surgery, I only have 11 sets of ribs. You're supposed to have 12. So he decided he was going to look at my first x-ray from when I was two,
Wow.
to see, so did we get a rib removed, or did this just happen? And it was like that when I was little. It was actually really cool seeing my little x-ray, because you don't just see the upper body, you see everything.
Yeah.
So it's really cool. But
yeah,
it's really good to have all of your medical records.
That's for sure.
I know growing up, I don't know how old I was, I had one doctor, and then all of a sudden she was gone. No one heard from her ever again. Apparently she went out of state, but we could not get my medical records.
Oh my
I
goodness.
don't have any of those medical records, because she just got up and left with everything.
She up and left. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy. Oh my goodness.
And I do wonder today, like, was there something back then that we could have used today to understand what was happening to me? And I think one of my doctors questioned that too, because these are our lifelines. Our medical records are our lifelines, because if something ever happened to us, someone would have to know what was going on with us. Because I know I need the medical bracelet that says I take blood thinners, but if I don't have one, how are they going to know?
Yeah. Absolutely, for sure. Wow. Well, that's definitely a conversation that we definitely need to expand upon, because it's really important, really important. I'll just read one last comment from Mary again, and then we will get off of here. It says, AnnMarie, keep being the awesome warrior that you are. You inspire this grandma so much. God bless you. I too battle many chronic illnesses on a daily basis. Yes, Mary is a fellow chronic illness warrior. So grateful for your comment. Someone else said, "You rock, ma'am." So I agree. You do rock. You do rock. And I'm so grateful. And remember, everyone, together we are epic. If you're looking at this through YouTube, please share the video. Even if you're on live, share the video so that we can help increase awareness. YouTube, share the video, subscribe to our Epic Foundation channel so that you can keep seeing Diving Deep with AnnMarie. And AnnMarie, it was so great to see you again.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you. And together we are epic, like I said, and we will see you very soon. Thank you. Bye, everyone.